Good afternoon, Tuscaloosa. Good afternoon, Tuscaloosa and internet world. How are you doing on this wonderful Monday, August the 7th? Thanks everybody for jumping in and joining us today on the Joe Gaither Show on BamaCentral. You're watching us on Spotify. You're watching us on, YouTube, on Twitter, and on Facebook. You're listening to me on Spotify, on Apple Podcasts, and on Amazon. Make sure you tell a friend about the program, The Joe Gaither Show on BamaCentral. Give us a like, a comment, review, subscribe, all that good stuff. Rate 5 stars or 1 star, whatever stars you like. It's all good. We appreciate all the participation. You can jump in and find us on the social media machines at Joe Gaither6 on the Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram machines, and any really social medias that you find. YouTube as well at Joe Gaither6. You can find the channel. Of course, we're always on BamaCentral.com, and we're proud to be a part of the BamaCentral.com broadcasting network with our friends, all things Bama and Blue Collar Unplugged. We've got Miss Katie Wyndham and Austin Hannon putting out all things Bama, and we've got Jacob Pickle, Matthew Gibson, and Blake Byler putting out a little bit of Blue Collar Unplugged, all things Alabama basketball. So subscribe to the other Bama Central Broadcasting Network podcast. We are all three together, the Bama Central Broadcasting Network, and we love all, covering the Crimson Tide. Covering the Crimson Tide, you can follow us at BamaCentral.com for all things Alabama related. We are the Sports Illustrated home for the Alabama Crimson Tide. So what will we do today? What will we do today on a beautiful Monday? All right, so first we're going to recap a little bit of the weekend. We're going to first thank our big guests from last week. We had Casey Poe on Wednesday, and we had Cannon Claycomb on Thursday. If you missed either of those programs, either of those interviews, you can talk to them or you can listen to them actually on YouTube, on all the other outlets that we just mentioned. We want to thank those guys for joining us, giving us 45 minutes of their time, respectively. Obviously, Casey Poe is a big-time member of the 2024 Alabama Crimson Tide recruiting class. And of course, Cannon Claycomb is a senior on the Alabama golf team right now, going into his senior year, getting ready to lead our Alabama Crimson Tide. So big thanks to those two guys for joining me on the show last week. We're going to figure out what we're going to do for the week as far as big guests go and good, bringing you more interviews that you might be interested in, Alabama athletes, for future Alabama athletes, former Alabama athletes. We're going to be looking forward to bringing you another big week. But it is Monday. It's Monday, and we've got a lot to talk about. My note sheet is really, really full, and so we are going to try to get all into really everything that I saw over the weekend. What did we do over the weekend? Well, look, on Friday we met with some players on Friday. Yeah, was that it? Yeah, on Friday we met with some players. We met with Deontay Lawson. We met with Deontay Lawson. We met with goodness gracious, Friday seems like 10 years ago. We met with Justin Lapoigbe, and we met with Jacoy Brooks on Friday. So the three of those guys spoke to the media on Friday. Then on Saturday, we got to spend some time in Bryant-Denny Stadium. We spent about 2.5, 3 hours at Bryant-Denny Stadium watching Alabama's open practice, and that's really what we're going to talk about the most today. Alabama's open practice, kind of what we saw and what it means for the upcoming season. And then on Sunday, we got to spend some time with the Alabama coordinators. We spent some time with Tommy Rees and Kevin Steele, and of course, the head coach Nick Saban came in and he led the proceedings. Coach Saban led everything. Then Kevin Steele, then of Tommy Rees joined everybody. So a lot to get into from the weekend. Of course, if you are following Bama Central, you already know that our man Austin Hannon is over. Austin Hannon and Katie Wyndham are over at the facility right now because they were talking to Tyler Booker, Malachi Moore, and I think Jace McClellan were over at the podium this morning before my show right there at noon. So make sure you follow Austin Hannon at Austin Hannon SI and Katie Wyndham as well for all their coverage. We will always be bringing you all kinds of player coverage. You can watch all those interviews on the Bama Central YouTube channel. You can watch all those media availabilities on the Bama Central YouTube channel. Subscribe to the Bama Central YouTube channel. You'll never miss an episode of the Joe Gaither Show, but you'll also see a lot of great coverage. We spent some time with Christy Curry last week. You can watch the videos from the autograph sessions, from the fan day sessions. Just lots of good video work going on over there at Bama Central YouTube channel. So what do you want to talk about? All right, many of you guys did not go to Alabama Fan Day. Shame, know your name. Woo, let's start right there. Let's start right there. Alabama Fan Day on Saturday. First off, the weather was beautiful. Yes, I know it was hot. It was hot. It was a typical hot Alabama August day. And we were blessed to spend the time and watch the event from the press box in the air conditioning. Absolutely, it would be a huge blessing. Thank you to the Alabama SID staffs for opening the press box and allowing us to sit upstairs in the AC. But I am hugely, hugely disappointed in the Alabama fan base. Those that those that say and claim that they are riding with the tide in 2023, lifelong Alabama fans, XYZ ABC. You've been with Alabama forever. There was almost no one in Bryant-Denny Stadium. Now, I think there's a couple of reasons for that on Saturday. The first reason, it was very confusing to me as someone covering the event, whether it was free to the public or it was exclusive to the Alabama members. First, the football was free. The football was free as it always has been. So you guys were able to go into Bryant-Denny Stadium on Saturday, but the autograph session, the post-practice autograph session, was exclusive to the Alabama members. And I felt like, just as I watched all that unfold, that it was not very clear. It was not very clear to the consumer, and I think that really hindered a lot of people going to the game. Oh, I'm not a Alabama member. I don't want to get out to Bryant-Denny Stadium. I don't want to pay $18, $20 a month to watch one practice for 2 hours. That was unfortunate because I think there were less than 5,000 people in the stadium. You guys know Bryant-Denny Stadium holds right at 100,000, and it was less than 5% full. It was terrible. I mean, obviously, commend the people that were there. Commend the people that were there, and you know that Kirby Smart had himself a spy over there as well, watching the practice. Commend the people that were there and stuck it out in the heat. It was definitely hot, but an abysmal performance, an abysmal turnout for the Alabama fan base. I literally would say less than 5,000 people were on the. That would have been we were on the what side? We were on the east side. They were on the west side. Yes, on the west side. Shielded by the sun as the day got later, but still an abysmal performance from the Alabama fan base. Shame, know your name. Come on now. I thought this was the year. Alabama is reestablishing the Bama standard. We're raising the stakes. We're getting back to the basics. We're getting back to Alabama football. Come on, Alabama fans. You think about what that means, getting back to Alabama football over the last, take back to 07, 08, 09. That Alabama fan day would have been packed. It would have been packed in Bryant-Denny Stadium, and it was absolutely not packed. I parked very, very close to the stadium. There were not really a whole lot of hoopla. Look, in years past, there would have been lots of, hey, parking here for $40. Hey, buy my merchandise on your way into the stadium. There was none of that. It was a really, really, really unfortunate showing for a free event. Now, I do have to say it was unclear. It was unclear that it was still a free event from the consumer standpoint. I didn't know whether it was a free event or not, and I thought to myself walking into the week, I don't really want to pay $20 to get into practice. Very, very, very fortunate that they made a media option available to me, and I was thankful for that. Later in the week, as we kind of got more information, I realized, it is still a free event. And even if the media option was not open, I could have gone to practice just to watch the football side. So, okay, yes, negative mark on Alabama, negative mark on the University of Alabama, which I don't like to do, but a negative mark on the University of Alabama for the clarity on who can come to the event and how it was going to be organized. It was organized the exact same way as it's always been, with the practice being open, and then to gain access onto the field, to get the autographs, to get into the Nick Saban line, to get into all the lines for the quarterbacks and this, that, and the other. You had to show your little Alabama membership, and they did have QR codes up on all the jumbotrons to sign up for Alabama membership during the practice. So if you guys weren't members and you decided through the day, I want to get down there and get an autograph, you could have signed up. But the clarity on who was allowed in and who was allowed to do what was lacking, in my opinion. And I think hurt the attendance, hurt the overall attendance in Bryant-Denny Stadium. And so look, yes, hot Saturday in Alabama. You're what, a couple of weeks away from the actual season starting, and people are still trying to wrap up their summers. I get that. I understand that. You're still trying to squeeze in the last family weekend down at the beach or this, that, or the other. But the fact remains, it looked like less than 5% full at Bryant-Denny Stadium. Now, you ask, would have Georgia put up more? Would Tennessee? Would other schools have put up more? Maybe so. Maybe so. I just wonder if the clarity on who was allowed in, and I wonder about the hunger, the Alabama fan base, the hunger. It really just was not showing on Saturday, at least from that standpoint, from an attendance standpoint. Now, get that out of the way, and let's talk about the football. Let's talk about the football. It was a blessing to be in Bryant-Denny Stadium for myself. I enjoyed it for the couple of hours, and so here's some of my takeaways. Sitting up in the press box, I have 8-9 different notes from the event, and we'll just roll right through it. My first note here is efficiency of movement. Once we got the practice rolling, once you got the Alabama practice rolling, it was literally every inch of the field being used to Alabama's advantage. Everybody was in action. And look, you see this at all of Alabama practices, whether you're over at the Malmore Center or right there in Bryant-Denny Stadium. But just to see it from the press box view is a lot different than seeing it from down there on the field. From the times that we have been able to go to practice, it's beautiful to watch the efficiency of movement and really just the way the Alabama practice operates, where you roll out, everybody comes out of the tunnel, they go straight into individual drills, they all have their places on the field, and it's all rolling, movement all the time, and it's all offensive linemen down here, it's quarterbacks over there, it's cornerbacks on the other sidelines, it's linebackers down on the other end. Everybody knows where they're going, and it just really it kind of made me think about Coach Saban's comments where he says, "Oh, you guys don't know what you're looking at." The reason for that, Coach, it's because so many things are happening all the time. So many things are happening at one time, and I got to commend you. I got to commend you for keeping the pace of practice very, very high throughout the entire 2 hours. It was beautiful to watch. It was very, very mesmerizing to watch because I'm focusing on the offensive line over here. Oh crap, something's happening on the other side of the field, defensive back wise. Oh man, that quarterback's making a play on the other side of the field. It made it very difficult. And I think that's by design, very difficult to focus on one side or the other, focus on one aspect or another, because my eyeballs are bouncing all over the field, all over the place in the press box. Now, I love it. It's kind of sensory overload. I do love it, but it does make it a little bit overwhelming. I'm sitting there with my friend Austin Hannon, and I'm sitting there with all the other reporters, and they're saying, "Oh, did you see that? Oh, did you see that?" And quite frankly, I had to focus on what I wanted to focus on myself because of the overload, the sensory overload, and that is due to Alabama's efficiency in movement, efficiency in motion, efficiency in field space, maximizing every inch of the field, and really pushing the guys to practice. Look, we're going to get out there for 2 hours. They got out there, about 2:15 or so, and they were done right about 4:30, and it was beautiful, just the constant motion, the constant energy. Yes, of course, you have the clock on the scoreboard, and you're running periods, and Coach Saban is, counting it down, and of course, that helps. But just impressive to see the Alabama football machine in motion throughout 2 hours. Very, very good. Now, because of the efficiency of motion, because of the efficiency that happens, you have some confusion, really, a little bit of confusion from who's in the ones and who's in the twos. Now, you got to really pay attention to the groups to kind of start to put context clues together. Of course, J.C. Latham is your starter, so who's playing with J.C. Latham? And so you basically have to build context clues together. The confusion came in a little bit because, okay, we're all going to talk quarterbacks, and that's where we want to go to. Everybody wants to know what happens with the quarterbacks. Your Jalen Milrose, your Ty Simpson, your Tyler Buckners are getting massive and multiple reps with the ones, with the twos, with the threes. They're all repping over and over and over again throughout the day, and so it becomes a little bit of a challenge to it becomes a little bit of a challenge to evaluate who's playing well because they're continually rotating in and out with the ones, with the twos, with the threes. They're going over to the opposite field. They're throwing to backup receivers. They're throwing to starting receivers. They're throwing against backup corners. They're throwing against starting corners. They're throwing against starting defensive line or against backup defense. The rotation really leads into and kind of supplies Coach Saban with enough plausible deniability to really kind of poke holes in anybody's takes from this past weekend. I think that you get into Saturday and Coach Saban knows, okay, there's going to be anywhere between 1 and 5 and 10 and 20,000 people here. Unfortunately, it was closer to that 2,000. If I had to guess, if you had to nail me down, I'd say there were 2,500 people in Bryant-Denny Stadium on Saturday outside of the football personnel. But Coach Saban doesn't care about that. Coach Saban still wants to run a practice where, okay, if Kirby Smart has a spy or if Joe Gaither actually knows what he's looking at, then I want to confuse you. I want to put on a vanilla product. I think that really what you saw on Saturday, if you were in Bryant-Denny Stadium, was kind of an A-Day light, an A-Day, a knockoff A-Day where you are getting lots and lots of looks, lots of vanilla looks, lots of looks that are basic concepts because you don't want any fans. You don't want any reporters. You don't want any scouts walking away thinking, oh, I know exactly what Alabama's going to do on offense. I know exactly what Alabama's going to do on defense. Now, you can walk away with a pretty good idea. You can. And I feel like I did walk away with a pretty decent idea, especially talking to the coordinators the next day. But the real design of Saturday, I believe the design of Saturday was to one, let the fans see the team, jack up the NIL, jack up the Alabama memberships by making the autographs an exclusive NIL Yay Alabama membership experience, and it seemed like that went very smoothly. But I think the design of Saturday was just to continue to acclimate the players. Coach Saban talking about acclimating to helmets only, then to shells only. We're almost going to get into pads. I think today might be the first day of pads. Today or tomorrow will be the first day of Alabama in full pads. So we haven't gotten to full contact yet. And so what can you really take away from non-full contact drills? I think Coach Saban tries to let everyone feel like they got a little taste of the team without giving away the meat, without giving away really the juice of what this team is going to be and what this team is going to be about. So Saturday, a lot of fun to be in Bryant-Denny Stadium, but I think Coach Saban combines the efficiency of movement, lots of parts moving around on the field, lots of players, lots of, everybody going in different directions at different times, and then you combine it with multiple reps with different teams, multiple guys going with the first teams, multiple guys going with the second team, the third team, just mixing guys in. And then you combine it with a vanilla style. Look, they weren't running real offense. They were running the base level offense and the base level defense. It was essentially a 2-hour practice of let's run fundamental drills. You had a lot of one-on-one work with corners covering receivers. Great. Awesome. You had a lot of individual drills. You have a lot of linemen going through their steps. Lots of movement that doesn't really signify a lot of high level or deeper concepts, in my opinion. And I think that's by design. I think that's by design for Coach Saban. And really, why wouldn't you? For Coach, if you're going to open up practice, you do want to protect some things, especially in a quarterback battle. Now, on that note, it was the only time Alabama fans, it was the only time reporters who are covering the team can see practice at all this year, at all. And so, because of that, you had every single throw, every single read, every single footwork, every single drop back analyzed by the fans, by the reporters, because look, this is the only time we're going to get. And I saw criticism on that. Oh, no wonder Coach Saban keeps practice closed. And okay, I get that a little bit to a degree. No wonder he keeps the practice closed because the scrutiny is so high. am a little confused on Coach Saban's thought process with closing all the practices. We've talked about it before on the program. Look, I can go into a high school practice right here in Tuscaloosa, and partly it's due to relationships that have already developed, but partly it's due to the high school nature. Look, I can go up to Hillcrest and see Jamie Mitchell play and see the Hillcrest Patriots practice, or I can go over to Gordo and see the Green Wave practice. I can go over to the Northridge Jaguars and see them practice. Literally, I could see them practice the entire 2 hours, and I could probably be out there every single day. And by the end of the week, Coach Lawley might be giving me, all these coaches might give me a play sheet so I can start calling plays myself. That's how open they are at the high school level. All right, yes, that's the high school level. We know that Alabama and the SEC is a significant jump up. I'm not going to pretend like it's not. So let's look at the other level. The NFL. The NFL has reporters at almost every practice, not every practice, but almost every practice. And of course, there's viewing periods that they're allowed to look at and periods that they have to, walk off and have to leave. Of course, the NFL coaches get some privacy, but the NFL reporters can say, "Oh, Tua Tagovailoa just connected on a 60-yard deep pass to Tyreek Hill." You can get a kind of a good feel on what's going on at NFL practices due to these reporters being allowed to be there. Now, they're not retweeting every single thing, and there's definitely restrictions on video and restrictions on what they're allowed to put out and how long they're allowed to put it out. But the fact of the matter is, the access at the NFL level is so much higher than it is at the college level. And I'm sorry, Coach Saban, I love you. You are really the one or the two greatest coach in college football history. No argument there. And look, you have the way that you want to do things, but you're not curing cancer. You're not operating rocket science. Like we talk about this quarterback battle, and of course, you want to contain or keep a competitive edge on MTSU and Texas and those first couple of teams that you're going to play by keeping the quarterback battle close to the vest. But at the end of the day, everybody in college football is running offense, really similar offense. Everybody's trying to do similar things on defense. Of course, schematically things are different from school to school to school and program to program. But at the end of the day, it's all still football. It's all still 11 men on one side and 11 men on the other side. Wait for the ball to snap and try to smack the other guys in the mouth across the line of scrimmage. Try to move the line of scrimmage in your advantage. That's the name of the game. And so, Coach, just a little bit of complaint on not being able to see practice more, not being exposed to the team a bit more. It was a lot of fun to be there on Saturday, and I felt like it was kind of overload, and I was just like, drinking from a water hose, just spraying you in the face, trying to take in all the information. It would be a little easier and more conducive. And honestly, it would probably maintain your privacy a little bit more if you allowed a little more access. Because look, if Josh Maxson gives me a direction, hey, you can tweet that, you cannot tweet that, I'm going to follow whatever he has to say because I want to keep my good graces with the Alabama sports information. I want to keep my good graces. I want to keep that relationship very nice and cozy. So I wish that we had more access than we had on Saturday. So you have a lot of overreaction from Saturday because it's the only time that you're able to see the team before they play MTSU. We're 26 days away against Middle Tennessee State. It's going to be a blowout, but it's still the next time we're going to be able to see the Alabama football team. All right, let's keep this rolling because my topics just continue here on Saturday. I want to talk about the offensive line real quick. Let's talk about the offensive line. The first offensive line that rolled out was a beast, was a mammoth offensive line. You go from left to right, and I took this left to right from the first time that they put up the first team. In first offensive line drills. This was the first group that went through the first drills. You have Caden Proctor from left to right. Caden Proctor, Elijah Pritchett, Seth McLaughlin, Tyler Booker, and J.C. Latham. From left to right, there's your first five that rolled out in Bryant-Denny Stadium. Now, does that mean that will be the first five that rolls out there against MTSU or against Texas? No. Anything can change between now and then. Everything can change between now and then. But I think you see really the emphasis on physicality, the emphasis on bullying. Oh my goodness. You get this for these five guys. Look, I know Seth McLaughlin is a little undersized, but the reason I love Seth McLaughlin is he is a nasty mother bleeper. He's a nasty dude. Sure, undersized, but he plays with beautiful technique, beautiful offensive line technique. We had Casey Poe on last week. He talked about how he's focused on playing low through his hips in his senior year. That's what Seth McLaughlin does. Oh my gosh, Seth McLaughlin, I think, maintains that catcher stance, maintains that catcher's poise, the low in his hips, sink on down, using his power, using his leverage. And I love Seth McLaughlin playing in the center position because I think that he brings the toughness. He knows, okay, maybe I'm a little undersized and maybe I got to play a little harder. I love that aspect from the center position. And I think Seth brings that in a strong, strong way. Now, look, all you had to do was pay attention to SEC Media Days to listen to J.C. Latham, the Trench King, talk about wanting to reestablish the offensive line and wanting to bully people and wanting to run the football this coming season. Music to our ears as Alabama fans. Look, I love the passing game, and if you followed my career at all, you know how much I love Bryce Young. Absolutely in love with Bryce Young. But you have to have a bit more balance than you've had over the last 2 years, probably over the last 2020 aside, because 2020 was perfect. 2020's offense was as perfect an offense as you can get. So really the last two seasons with Bryce, and respectfully, sorry, Tua from 18 and 19 with Tua was very, very pass-centric. And look, those quarterbacks were incredible. Very, very good. But the 2020 offense was absolutely perfect. You have a hammer in Najee Harris in the backfield. And Najee, look, I know people love Derrick Henry. Najee, in my opinion, the most complete running back in the Nick Saban era as far as being able to run between the tackles, being able to catch the ball in the backfield, being able to protect the passer in passing situations and in pass blocking situations, being able to really be extremely versatile, being a versatile athlete, breakaway speed, not as breakaway as Derrick Henry, but his skill set was so much more well-rounded. So that 2020 offense was perfect. You had to load the box against Najee Harris on that offensive line. The offensive line was dominant. And Mac Jones was able to utilize, play action pass to Devontae Smith, to Jalen Waddle, and really decimate defenses. The 2020 offense was perfect. It was beautiful. It was exactly what you need. A perfect blend of run to pass. And yes, Devontae Smith won the Heisman, deservedly so, but you could have given the Heisman Trophy to Mac Jones. You could have given the Heisman Trophy to Najee Harris. I think the 2020 offense was as close to perfection. Now, of course, you give a lot of credit to Steve Sarkisian as well. And so you want to wonder, what will this offense do? And you see the offensive line rolling out there on Saturday. Caden Proctor, Elijah Pritchett, Seth McLaughlin, Tyler Booker, and J.C. Latham. You see these five guys and you think, ooh, that offense looks like they can really, really establish the line of scrimmage, reestablish the line of scrimmage. Look, over the last 2 years, there was a lot of understandable pass setting. There's a lot of, we're catching the defensive line. We're trying to protect Bryce Young. But there was not a whole lot of resetting the line of scrimmage on the snap. There was a lot of holding up, neutralizing the defensive line, and allowing Brian Robinson to try to run around them or run through them. I think this offensive line will be really focused on reestablishing 3 yards further, 2 yards further down the line, into positive territory. And I'm really, really excited about this offensive line. Now, going into, boom, right there, my next point. What are we going to try to do on offense? What are you going to try to do on offense? Because that's the point. That's really the crux of the matter. Everybody talks about who's going to play quarterback. And understandably so, deservedly so, it's a huge question. The quarterback for the University of Alabama is often one of the faces of college football. At least it has been for the last 15 years. No matter whether it's Blake Sims, Greg McElroy, or it's Tua, or Jalen Hurts, Mac Jones, it doesn't matter. The quarterback for the University of Alabama is one of the, 5 most high-profile positions in college football. You throw a quarterback at Notre Dame, and other than that, quarterback at SC, running back at SC, maybe. Obviously, those two positions, prestige-wise, have fallen off over the last 20 years. But quarterback at the University of Alabama, obviously one of the top 5 positions in college football due to prestige and notoriety. So what are we going to try to do on offense? And that really, in my opinion, is going to tell you who's going to win the job. Now, we watched it on Saturday. And I think a lot of you listened and read articles on BamaCentral.com and our other competitive websites covering Alabama. Look, you can read Austin Hannon's takeaway. You can read my takeaway on BamaCentral.com. It all depends on what you're wanting to do. And Tommy Rees, this is where we're going to combine yesterday's media day with Tommy Rees and Saturday's action. Tommy Rees talked about how obviously he comes from Notre Dame to Alabama and has to learn the Alabama system. He complimented Nick Saban. He complimented the Alabama offense over the last decade, saying that this offense has obviously been prolific, and it has been. There's no reason to argue any of that. The offense has been prolific. Oh my gosh, especially more so over the last 5 years than over the last decade. But the last decade, look, Coach Lane Kiffin came in 13, 14, changed everything, opened everything up, and Alabama's offense started to score bunches and bunches and bunches. Nothing wrong with that. You got to score points to win. But the offense definitely went through a shift. And so Tommy Rees talked about, learning the offense and working his philosophies into the offense yesterday. Tommy was pretty adamant in saying, what's the best way to say this? He basically talked about how the Alabama offense is what it is, and he'd be a fool to change it. He'd be a fool to come in and alter everything. I think a lot of Alabama fans have been expecting Tommy Rees to come in and change the offense. Come in and run the Notre Dame offense with the Alabama personnel, with the Alabama terminology. Just turn it Notre Dameized, turn it Golden Domerized. And I don't know if we're going to get that. I don't know if we're going to get that. Now, I do think you're going to have more physicality in this year's offense. I think it will look more closer to the 2020 offense than anything else. Tommy Rees yesterday saying that really his philosophy is player-driven, is personnel-driven. At Notre Dame, they obviously had a lot of successful tight ends, a lot of nice physical tight ends. They didn't always have great talent at the quarterback position. So I think Tommy Rees utilized the personnel as well as he could at Notre Dame, as a good coach should. I wonder what Tommy Rees, what his real goal, when he looks at the personnel that he sees at the University of Alabama, I wonder how he thinks, okay, what can we do to maximize this personnel? What can we do to maximize this offense? And it goes back to the offensive line that we just hit on, Pritchett, Proctor, McLaughlin, Booker, and Latham. Obviously, I think that's where you're most talented. I think you're most talented in the offensive line, and I think you're most talented in the running backs. So let's put all this together. Let's get physical. Let's get physical and have some fun. Isn't that a line from an old song? That's not Stevie Wonder. Stevie Wonder or Four Tops. Either way, let's get physical and have some fun. And I think it's going to look like that for the Alabama offense. Now, how does that play into the quarterback position? What do you want to do with the quarterback position? I've got look, I can sell you on 3 quarterbacks. I think it's a 2-quarterback race. After Saturday, I think it's really between Jalen Milroe and Ty Simpson. I think the 2 of those guys have separated themselves from the rest of the group. Now, Tommy Rees talking on Sunday that they're really repping all 5 guys, and I think that is a little bit dangerous, but I also think that is a little bit coach speak. As you saw on Saturday, I think a little bit is construed for the media and for the public to keep all 5 guys interested and to keep all of the college football world on edge. What do you want to do from the quarterback position? Do you want to play Jalen Milroe? Do you want to play Jalen Milroe because he has a unique skill set? Let's think about it from the Tommy Rees perspective. Tommy Rees yesterday talking about, I want to organize my offense around the players, around what the players do best, and put them in the best position. So Jalen Milroe, it's absolutely obvious that he is the best runner of any of the quarterbacks. I mean, there's no disputing that. He's easily the best runner of any of the quarterbacks. He can drop back and see everything covered and boom, scramble for 7-8 yards. He can run a quarterback option. He can run the read option, and his legs are dynamic. They are. They're absolutely dynamic. Now, what do we see on Saturday? Still a lot of throwing the ball with his hand, not a whole lot of motion, not a very good mechanic. Now, was the mechanics better than the Texas A&M game? I think it was. But it's still a lot of hand placement. You guys ever go into a bar and play darts? You kind of place and throw it and try to place it accurately on a dartboard. Jalen, this is not a disparaging thing. I don't want to talk bad about you, but you got to continue to improve. You cannot be placing the football trying to deliver it accurately. Just get back there, grip it and rip it. Turn your shoulder, point it at the target, step into your throw, and let it go. Now, look, you're not going to see a whole big change in Jalen Milroe's mechanics in the next 26 days. You're not. It's just not going to happen. What the changes that you saw over the summer, the little improvements that you saw over the summer, you're going to have to hope that those hold and take for the rest of the year. Because the training happens in the summer. All the revamping and the reworking mechanics happen in the summer. Once the live bullets fly, once everybody's in pads and the pass rush is going, you kind of revert back to your instincts. And so Jalen Milroe, you got to hope that some of his instincts have been rewired over the summer. I think a little of them have, but not far enough from what you want to see. So Jalen had an okay day on Saturday, really struggled with drops from the receiver side of things. And that's really makes it hard to evaluate. If your receivers are still dropping balls left and right, you only have a handful of receivers that you can count on. It makes it very difficult to evaluate the quarterback position. Now, Jalen Milroe, I think, probably is the leader in the clubhouse right now. He rolled out there as the quarterback one on Saturday. Granted, that could just be what Nick Saban wanted to show everybody in the media and everybody in the stands. It could be different today on the practice field. They're starting in a half hour, in 1 hour, 2:30. It could be different today. But I think Jalen Milroe is your leader in the clubhouse because of what he can do with his legs. If you can scheme, you don't have to scheme up a ton of things offensively, passing wise. Look, you guys are not stupid. All the fans and viewers and listeners of the Joe Gaither show, you guys are some of the smartest fans in college football. You guys have seen Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson, not the most pretty foot throwing mechanics, and really. The Baltimore Ravens, and going back further to Louisville, Heisman Trophy winner, Louisville maximized Lamar Jackson, and the Baltimore Ravens have maximized Lamar Jackson. His skill sets running the football threatens defenses so much that it opens things up in the passing game. And I think that you'll see the same sorts of things with Jalen Milroe this coming up year. Now, will Alabama fans be patient enough to allow Jalen Milroe to operate that way? I don't know. I don't think it will. I kind of don't think they will be. Because here's my evaluation. My evaluation from the weekend is Jalen Milroe has the highest floor of any of the quarterbacks that you've currently got. But Ty Simpson has the highest ceiling. Ty Simpson has the closest to professional quarterback ability of any of the three that you've seen. Ty Simpson, he can sling that ball, baby. And he's not a chump for an athlete. He is not a chump for an athlete. The issue with Ty Simpson and Josh Pate, 24/7 Sports, Josh Pate, Late Kick with Josh. Yes, Late Kick with Josh, has said as much over the summer that the coaches, and I believe this take. I've heard similar things. The coaches wanted Ty Simpson to win the job, but turnovers have been really the main issue. You cannot turn the football over. That's the one thing that Coach Saban will pull his dadgum hair out of. Whether the hair is real or not, Coach Saban will pull his hair out over turnovers. And that is why Tyler Buchner is here. Now, Ty Simpson, I think, can operate this offense at a high level. I think Ty Simpson can run all your running plays, can run all your read options, can run all your quarterback zone reads, all that stuff that Jalen Milroe can. Not as electric, not as big play. You're not going to have as high a big playability, but you're still going to gain positive yardage. Can you protect the football, Ty Simpson, over the next 26 days? Because if Ty Simpson protects the football in practice over the next 26 days, I think he's going to win the job. But if he doesn't, if you're still operating on, we're turning the ball over too much, because look, Ty had a couple ugly. I'm sorry. I love them all. I want great success for them all. But Ty Simpson had some ugly ass throws in Brian Dean's. Now, he also equally had some beautiful throws on Saturday. He ended his day really. His day ended with a standout throw to Isaiah Bond into the second level of the defense through traffic. Perfect placement, right in Bond's breadbasket. Bond catches it in stride and runs the extra 15 yards into the end zone for a touchdown. He has the ability. Ty Simpson has the ability, and he did make the most high-level throws on Saturday. And the zip on his football looks like the zip that you want to see out of a college quarterback. I'm sorry, Jalen Milroe, there's too much floating of the football. There's too much placement of the football. And I like Jalen Milroe. I honestly want Jalen Milroe to win this job just because I think that his legs present such a challenge for the Alabama for the other defenses. But the pass, like, you gotta have some zip on your ball. You gotta have some real pace on your passes. And Ty Simpson, his pace looks like a high level college quarterback. Now the decision making is where you want to see Ty continue to improve. So what do you do if you're Tommy Rees? Do you throw out Ty Simpson and say, you know what, we're just going to play you? You got to play through the mistakes. You have to play through problems. If you end up turning the football over, you just got to figure it out. Because here's the deal. Can you win a national championship with Jalen Milroe? I think you can. Are you more likely to win a national championship with Ty Simpson? Yes, I think you are. Are you likely to win a national champion? Can you win a national championship with Tyler Buchner? I think you can. Tyler Buchner strikes me as very Greg McElroy safe quarterback. I'm not going to turn the football over. I can run a little bit. I'm sneaky, athletic. I can deliver the check down. I can get through my reads and deliver a check down to a running back, to a tight end. You saw a lot of that from Tyler Buchner on Saturday. Now, when Tyler Buchner was asked to push the ball down the field, terrible. Oh, it was not good. It was not pretty from my perspective. You had a lot of bounce passes, errant throws. Now, I commend Buchner because every time he threw the football, it was either going to go to an offensive player or be uncatchable. And that's something that I think Coach Saban highly values from his quarterback position. Keep it away from the defense. Let's end every drive in a kick, whether it be a punt, a field goal, an extra point. Let's end every drive in a kick, giving the defense a chance, giving the defense, who I think, the defense won the day on Saturday, to give the defense a chance to stop the offense, to stop the opposing offense, and give you more opportunities with the football. Tyler Buchner gives you the safest option from the quarterback position over the weekend. But if I'm Tommy Rees, people ask me who I think is going to be the quarterback. If I'm Tommy Rees at this point, I think that I play Ty Simpson and I deal with the growing pains. I deal with the growing pains that are, look, you're going to beat MTSU, period. I'm not going to sit here. I'm not going to sell you that the Blue Raiders can come in here and beat Alabama. Could they? Sure. Any given Saturday, 1% chance. But that's not going to happen. Literally, Alabama would have to play one of its worst games in the Nick Saban era and then some. You're not losing to the Blue Raiders week number 1. The big focus, obviously, is week number 2 against Texas. So you'll play Ty Simpson. You'll let him go through the growing pains. Now, look, the issue with Texas in week number 2 is they're going to come out getting guns blazing. They're going to come out firing. I fully expect their offense to be operating as close to 100% as really they will be all year long. Veteran quarterback, veteran receivers. Yes, they lost 2 big-time running backs in Bijan Robinson and Roschon Johnson, but you've got a third-year Steve Sarkisian. I think they're going to be operating at a high level. Do you want to beat Texas? Of course you want to beat Texas, but does it matter in the grand scheme of things, getting to the college football playoff? No. If you win the SEC West, if you win the SEC if you win the SEC championship, you're in the playoff. Now, I'm not saying punt on the Texas game. I'm not. But is it vital to win the Texas game? No. It's vital to win the Tennessee game, the LSU game. It's vital to go out to A&M and beat the Aggies. That's what's vital. And I think maybe your best bet is to throw Ty Simpson into the deep end and say, sink or swim, son. Sink or swim. And then, look, of course, Jalen Milroe sits right there on the bench and says, you know what, I can come in and save you if Ty Buchner is sinking. If you're turning the ball over at such a higher rate that you got to just go into a shell offense and run the daggum football and utilize my running ability, I think as it stands on August 7th, that would be my strategy. And I know that I've been a big staunch Jalen Milroe supporter, and I still support Jalen Milroe, but I think the best bet for Alabama is to sink or swim with Ty Simpson. Let him let him play high-level college football, let him have bullets flying by his face. The Texas Longhorns not going to take it easy on you week number 2. I think it's very, very important for Ty Simpson to get up to speed as quickly as possible, because that's your way. I don't know how much more growth Jalen Milroe is going to have, but I do see a path for Jalen Milroe to decimate defenses. It just depends on what Tommy Rees wants to do. Will that skill set be able to threaten Georgia? Will that skill set be able to threaten Ohio State? Be able to threaten these teams that are competing for national championships? Will here's the thing. Will Harold Perkins in a spy against Jalen Milroe be able to shut Jalen Milroe down? Or will Jalen Milroe be able to throw the football at a high enough rate to keep the running option a threat? If I'm Tommy Rees, right here on August 7th, I think I'm starting I think I'm starting Ty Simpson. I think I am, and I think I'm dealing with the growing pains. Look, Ty Simpson as just a sophomore, you deal with the growing pains. You let him play the 15 games, ideally. He takes you to the playoffs. He takes you to the national championship, and then you bring in Julian Saban in the 24 class. You deal with the fallout of the transfers, because there will be transfers at the end of the year. Inevitable. There will be. You bring in Julian Saban, and you let Ty Simpson and Julian Saban battle it out. And Ty Simpson plays, hopefully, his third year, goes on to the NFL, and Julian Saban takes the reins after that, a la Bryce Young, Mac Jones kind of a situation. Will I be surprised if Jalen Milroe is your starting quarterback week number 1 against MTSU? No, I will not. I think Jalen Milroe provides this offense a lot of upside, a lot of skill, a lot of upside that would make me as a defensive coordinator just absolutely. I would be at my wit's end, because what do? You can't really run a whole lot of man coverage against Jalen Milroe. Please turn your cornerbacks, turn your secondaries backs away from Jalen Milroe. Ask Arkansas about that 65 yards later. Please put him in a man against a man defense with a spy. Do you think how many spies in the SEC, how many linebackers, how many safeties in the SEC can take down Jalen Milroe one-on-one? I think maybe that number may be very few. So really, it all boils down to what Tommy Rees wants to do. Tommy, do you want to integrate? How much of your offense will you integrate to this Nick Saban, to this Alabama offense? Tommy, yesterday in front of the media, saying that he's just really going to adhere the offense to the personnel that we have. So really, it's up to Tommy. What will you do, my man? Will you utilize, going back to the very beginning, will you utilize your strong offensive line? You're the most talented in your offensive line. Even if those 5 guys are not the 5 guys when you start off, you've still got TJ Ferguson, Terrence Ferguson, you've still got Darren Dalcourt on the bench. You've got lots of players on the bench who are capable. Look, even Wilkin Formby got some reps as a second team tackle. You've got a lot of talent in the offensive line room that can drive this team. Will you lean on that? Will that be your focal point? And your running backs are just absolutely absurd. Jace McClellan, Roy Dell Williams, Justice Haynes, and Jam Miller. Your running backs are absurd. So will you lean on that? And will you allow those two position groups to kind of dictate and decide what you're going to do on offense? If you do, then you play Ty Simpson. You play Ty Simpson, and you kind of, I don't want to say hide, but you tuck him in behind the offensive line. You tuck him in underneath the running backs, and you say, you know what, my mans? Just play action pass. Let's hammer these teams and play action pass. So what else do we want to get into for this day? We're at 48 minutes. We need to wrap it up here pretty soon. I have 2-3 defensive notes from the weekend. And so let's flip to the defensive side of the ball real quick as we get on out of here. First, and thanks everybody for watching us on YouTube, on Facebook, on Twitter, everybody tuning in on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and on Amazon. Make sure you tell a friend about the program. We're going to talk heavy Alabama football for the rest of for the rest of the football season. Duh. Look, we haven't got into conference expansion. I don't know. We might get into that tomorrow. Lots of great comments coming out from Eli Drinkwitz, the Michigan Board of Regents, and Nick Saban yesterday talking about conference expansions as well. That's not going to be on the table for today. We might get into it tomorrow. So let's talk about the defense. Deontay Lawson met with the media on Friday, and showed out on Saturday. Oh my gosh, Deontay Lawson, whoo, the chills down my spine watching you play inside linebacker. When's the last time Alabama had a dominant inside linebacker? No disrespect to you, Henry To'oTo'o, Mac Wilson. No disrespect to you guys. No disrespect to you, Christian Harris, any of those guys. Christian was a hell of an athlete. And I think towards the end of his time at Alabama, he really picked up the defense. But Deontay Lawson, true, a real linebacker who's played linebacker all his damn life. Oh my gosh, on Saturday was all over the field. Deontay Lawson utilized rushing up the middle, putting heavy pressure on the offense. And that's another reason why it's hard to tell really what's really going on the offense, because you say the offense looks bad, or the defense looked incredible. The defense looked like an Alabama defense on Saturday. Now, granted, we're still 26 days away, and they were going up against a vanilla offense. They were going up against an offense that's going through growing pains. Deontay Lawson from Mobile Christian High School. Oh my gosh, you were going to make Alabama fans cry this year with joy, with pride, all over the field. And you hear from Malachi Moore today talking about Deontay Lawson taking the leadership role by the horns, throwing everybody into the right places and making sure everybody's in their right, handling their right assignments. Look through the defense. And I think you've got alphas at every level. You have alphas on the front with Jaheim Otis and Dallas Turner. You have alphas in the middle with the linebacking core with Deontay Lawson, and I guess Dallas kind of plays into that as well. So tweener zone, and then you have alphas. I think you have an alpha in the back with Kool-Aid McKinstry and kind of with Malachi Moore as well. The secondary looked incredible. The secondary was contesting every pass. Now, that also makes it tough to evaluate the quarterback. The secondary was contesting every single pass. Terry and Arnold all over the place. Terry and Arnold, Kool-Aid McKinstry, and Trey Amos all over the place. I wrote down my top five my top five players in the secondary, because, look, you're going to be playing nickel a lot of the time. You're going to be playing nickel, 65, 70% of your season. And I've got Kool-Aid McKinstry, Terry and Arnold both taking the corner CB1 and CB2 positions. Interesting enough, your safeties, Devontae Smith played a lot of safety with number one. Not the Heisman Trophy winning Devontae Smith. This Devontae Smith, I believe he's from Ohio, came to Alabama as a corner, shifted to safety, and is now starting to earn some heavy playing time. Coach Saban complimenting him on eliminating mental mistakes and really playing fast, and really that has Coach Saban has said that has allowed him to find more playing time. Devontae Smith, how much fun would it be to have another Devontae Smith out there dominating for Alabama? So I got excuse me. I have Devontae Smith, Malachi Moore, and Jalen Key really as your back end, your back three, and Trey Amos coming off the bench in your dime package. You look at those five guys. Oh. And I didn't even mention Caleb Downs. Caleb Downs all over the place as well. Your secondary is going to be so dadgum good this year. Kevin Steele, I think, is in paradise. I think Kevin Steele is in paradise with the defensive personnel that you have this year. Is the experience as high as it was last year with DeMarco Helms and Jordan Battle? No, it's not. You still have Kool-Aid, who's basically a 3-year starter, and Malachi Moore, who started pretty much all 3 years. But you're integrating Terry Arnold, 2nd-year starter, Devontae Smith, first-time starter, Jalen Key, and Trey Amos, transferees. But the talent level, oh my gosh, is so much higher. I think the Alabama fans should quietly be expecting a high-level Alabama defense. Going back to 2016, your best Alabama defense, 2014 and 11, your best Alabama defense is 09 as well. I think you're going to put this Alabama defense, when you get all said and done, into those categories. Probably you're not going to pass 16. You're probably not going to pass 11 and 09, but you're going to be in that category by the end of the year. I know, Alabama fans, you wanted it last year. You should have had it last year with Will Anderson, but Pete Golding, look, as much as Pete Golding, I appreciate his ability to recruit, and I think that he was a defensive savant. I don't know that he was the attention to detail, the attention to the little things. It was extremely lacking, especially over the last 2 years. And Kevin Steele is coming in really focusing on the little things for this Alabama defense. You talk about it with Deontay Lawson on Saturday. He says the little things that he's focused on are eliminating penalties and eliminating mental errors. Think about this. Last year, Alabama, oh my God, was 123rd in the NCAA when it comes to penalties. 103 penalties across the season, averaged 68 yards a game. 68 yards a game is basically 3/4 of a football field, and I don't have to tell you what Alabama did against Texas and Tennessee. 17 and 18 penalties, respectively, double digits, and just shooting yourself in the foot. You hear Malachi Moore talking today at the media saying, we got to do up downs for every penalty. We got to do position up downs for every penalty. We're really trying to eliminate that. And goodness gracious, Kevin Steele, if you just knock down that one area, return Alabama to its discipline standard where you're not getting penalties on pass interferences, you're not jumping off sides, you're not getting late hits on the quarterback, you're not having senseless penalties. Look, effort penalties, whatever. You're going to get a couple roughing the passers. I think Dallas Turner got a roughing the passer last year against Texas on an effort play. But goodness gracious, you cannot be jumping off sides. You cannot be holding down the field. You cannot be pass interfering anytime the ball goes up and expect to have a dominant defense. These free yards that Alabama has given up over the last 2 years have to stop. They have to. And so Kevin Steele, to make that his focus already through his early return to the Alabama Crimson Tide team, is music to our ears. And you put it all together with the alphas of Deontay Lawson, with Malachi Moore, the Kool-Aid. I think that really everybody wants to see the standard of defense returned. And really, Kevin Steele wouldn't even bite on that yesterday. He said, "Oh, the standard is still here. It's still here at Alabama, defensively speaking." So we had a lot of fun over the weekend. We had a lot of football over the weekend to take in. Really our only football that we're going to be able to see for the foreseeable future, at least when it comes to wearing Alabama Crimson Tide colors. We're going to see Alabama against MTSU in 26 days. 26 days from now, we'll see Alabama in Bryant-Denny Stadium. We'll still receive the B-roll footage from the Alabama administration, from the athletic staff, and we appreciate any and every tidbit that we can find from those B-roll footage. I don't really think they give you anything at all, but still nice to see them. You talk about the quarterbacks. I think Coach Saban kept everything intentionally vanilla, intentionally simple on Saturday. And I think Coach Saban and Tommy Rees intentionally rotates the quarterbacks through with second, first, third string offensive players in order to not confuse the pundits, not confuse the media and the fans, but to just make sure that all the quarterbacks feel like they're still a part of this competition. When it all is said and done, and we're about to kick off against MTSU, and more importantly, the next week against Texas, I think Tommy Rees has two really good options. Well, really three, and Buckner as well. But Tommy Rees needs to decide what he wants to do on offense. Do I want to lean on the running backs? Do I want to threaten offenses with a running quarterback, or do I want to take the guy with the highest ceiling? I think the guy with the highest ceiling is Ty Simpson, and he showed that on Saturday, but he showed that he still got a lot of rookie mistakes in him. Oh, there was a couple of ugly passes. There were a couple of dumb decisions, but equally speaking, his arm strength, his passing mechanics look the most polished. You're the most professional. He has the best chance to be a true professional quarterback out of the three. And so what do you want to do, Tommy Rees, on offense? How do you want to orchestrate everything? Do you want to line up behind your offensive line and get physical and just lean on the running game? If you do, then the quarterback decision becomes far less important, in my opinion. And I think you're more likely to lean on. I think you're more likely to lean on Ty Simpson because you can deal with the mistakes. You can deal with the mistakes by hiding him in play action passing situations, getting him out on the run. Look, if I'm Tommy Rees right now as we sit, I think that's what I do. Because the longer-term future for the Alabama Crimson Tide, look, I think you're probably going to win more right here off the bat with Jalen Milroe, but think about the next 6 to 12 months. Think about Ty Simpson over the next 2 years. Your best bet, I think he presents you with the highest ceiling. after what we saw on Saturday. Now, granted, it could have been just a good day for him, and we don't see everything. But over the next 2 years in an Alabama uniform, I think you throw Ty Simpson out here early. You deal with the growing pains. You beat MTSU. You may or may not beat Texas with him. But the Texas game is honestly irrelevant. You win the SEC West. You go to the SEC championship and win it. You're going to be in the playoff, and then you may play Texas again. That's great. I think you throw Ty Simpson out there right now, and you deal with the growing pains behind this really strong offensive line and behind the defense that looked incredible on Saturday. So for everybody, that's going to do it for my program today. You can always watch us on YouTube, on Facebook, on Twitter. Tell a friend about the program, The Joe Gaither Show on BamaCentral and BamaCentral.com. You can listen to us on Spotify, on Apple Podcasts, and on Amazon. We're going to be doing it each and every weekday. We're going to look for some new guests to bring onto the show the rest of the week, try to talk about some Alabama football with them. I believe we're going to have some commitments coming up. Look, I didn't even talk about Amari Jefferson on Saturday. We'll talk about Amari tomorrow. We're right at 1 hour. I want to wrap it up at the 1 hour mark. We're right at 1 hour. We'll talk about Amari tomorrow. Appreciate everybody giving me a follow on the social media machines. I see you, Curtis Moore II. Thanks for your comment right there on Facebook. You can comment anytime. Send me your comments, questions, queries, and complaints on the Facebook machine at Joe Gaither. I think it's Joe Gaither 31 is like my username on the Facebook, but everywhere else I am at Joe Gaither 6 on YouTube, on Twitter, on Instagram, on Snapchat, anywhere that you want to connect with me at Joe Gaither 6 is the way to do it. Follow our other Bama Central Broadcasting Network podcasts, All Things Bama and Blue Collar Unplugged. Bama Central, we're the Sports Illustrated home for all things Alabama. We're going to be covering Alabama soccer coming up, and later in the week, Alabama soccer gets rolling. We will have our first official athletic event for the new calendar year. It will be Alabama soccer this week, and we'll be covering it. My man Will Miller, and I believe I'll be there with Will. That'll be a lot of fun to get out there and see West Hart's new team. So keep an eye on us right here at Joe Gaither 6 on the Joe Gaither Show on Bama Central. So for you, the listener, I highly appreciate you. I love you each for watching and for listening. Tell a friend about the program. Subscribe, rate, and review on any of the platforms that you like to consume the program. Go give a follow to my boss at Chris Walsh, at Writing Walsh on the Twitter machine. He runs everything and keeps us all rolling on BamaCentral.com. So for you, the listener, that's going to do it for me. I am Joe Gaither. This was another edition. We'll talk to you tomorrow on the Joe Gaither Show on Bama Central and BamaCentral.com.